The courses that I've created have been in response to watching people do clinical dentistry. Watching people in the live patient courses do their preps, do their impressions and all this type of thing helped me see where people do well and where people struggle a bit. The hands-on course that we run is very different to most hands-on courses. It is not a case where you sit there and lecture most of the time and then you do a little bit of hands-on. Our hands-on courses, you will sit down at 8 o'clock in the morning and you will work till 5. You will prep and prep and prep and you'll do lots of work because we want to build up that hand skill, we want to build up the repetition so that you actually feel somewhat competent. We don't want you to know how to do one tooth perfectly over 2 days. I want you to know how to do teeth in clinical timeframes that are useful to you in your clinic. And also, I strongly believe that things are only learnt through repetition. They're not learnt by doing one. You have to do many. Most of all, we'll learn about self-discipline, not accepting something if it's no good. That's an incredibly important part. What's the most common thing that we do in dentistry? It's fix back teeth. Do fillings, do crowns, do root canals on back teeth. So the restoration of back teeth is what I would call the workhorse of dentistry. It is by far what we spend most of our time doing, and that's what I want to focus on with posterior dentistry. So what are the key parts with this really common procedure? So how do we do fillings? How do we do fillings in difficult cases? How do we choose when to do an onlay or a crown or any other type of restoration? So that's posterior dentistry. It's a typical Harris hands-on. That means you will work hard. We will get you doing restorative, doing ideal cusp build-ups on your fillings. How do you get those beautiful shapes without too much effort? And then from there we'll focus on how do you do onlay preps. And it's not just how do you make it look. Often we focus on the technical details like how much taper, how much smoothness, but how do you do this in a methodical way so it's efficient? Now, prepping is one of the few things that you can do in dentistry that you can do really fast and really good. Most things, if you do them fast, you do them bad. But prepping is one of those things that you can do really fast. And it's important that you do it fast because you need to have time to do everything else. You need to have time for impressions, you need to have time for checking the bite, checking the temporaries and so on. So the prep itself needs to be quite fast. Even to make a prep refined, it has to be fast. If you want enough time to make it smooth and perfectly rounded, polished, then you need to be able to do the actual prep part really fast, otherwise you're going to run out of time. So you can expect to be exhausted because you will actually work hard from first thing in the morning till last thing in the afternoon. So we really want to focus on those practical skills. With the anterior segment, once we start doing 5 or 6 teeth, we not only have the ability to fix problems, but we have the ability to create the smile that we want. We will be focusing, first of all, on shape. The shape of the tooth is by far the most important thing. If you cannot get teeth to look right in the shape, then they will never look right. And it's probably the area I find dentists are the weakest. So we have step-by-step process that you go through to take from nothing to having a tooth. This is necessary because if you don't know what a tooth looks like, you can't get a wax up done, you can't prescribe a wax up. If you can't tell your technician what is a nice looking tooth, the technician cannot make it for you. I will go through how to go to the technician and guide them and train your technician so that you get decent looking work. The second thing we'll do in the hands-on is a whole bunch of preps. We're going to do veneer preps. So you'll first do mock-ups, basically a wax up done with composite resin so that you can build up the shape. We'll do direct composite veneers on 6 teeth, and then we'll move to veneer preps, and then we'll try and do crown preps. You will come out of this and you will immediately understand shapes better. You'll be more confident with prepping, you'll be faster, you'll probably sell dentistry better because you'll be confident that you can actually do it, and you will enjoy your work better. Now, one of the things that people often struggle with is that most of the dentists who come to my courses haven't done large numbers of preps in one appointment. So they haven't done 4 teeth or 6 teeth or a whole arch of teeth in a single appointment. And so there's a lot of anxiety on their part on, can I actually do this? If I sit down today and I prep all these teeth, will I get an impression and get the temporaries on? Because that once you start, you have to finish. The full arch course is different to posterior and anterior. It has elements of that, which is multiple preps and doing core build-ups and temporaries and impressions and things. But the big difference is that the moment when you do a quadrant, you still have an occlusion. You have an occlusion on all the front teeth and on the teeth on the other side. You still have a bite. And so the bite record is very simple for a quadrant. You know, you put some bite record there and you get the patient to bite together. All the other teeth form the occlusion and you record the bite. The full mouth rehab course, which is a live patient course, I found that when people went straight into it, often they were quite stressed. It was exceedingly stressful because they didn't have the techniques. They were learning the techniques at the same time as they're doing a large case at the same time. So full arch dentistry, which is not a live patient course, it's a lecture and a hands-on course, is designed to help you understand what goes into a full mouth rehab, and in particular the full arch prep. It's designed to help you understand that you can actually do that many preps in a single visit, to have the hand skills, to develop the hand skills. The way you move your hand when you're prepping multiple teeth is very different to the way you move your hand when you're doing a single tooth. Okay? It's a completely different style of prepping. So knowing that you can do it, knowing that you understand how to prep, how you need to do this many calls, but more importantly, knowing how to manage the bite as you cut the last few teeth. You might say, well, I'm not sure if I'll ever do a rehab. Okay, that's fine. Learning to do a big case makes small cases easier. So when people do a full mouth rehabilitation for the first time, when they go back and do a single crown prep or 2 crowns, it's so easy. Okay, it makes simple dentistry simpler. It's a good idea to have done a full arch of prepping and a full arch of temporaries and learn to manage the bite on a set of plastic teeth so you understand it a bit before you try and do it. It makes your job much less stressful when you're doing it on a patient, and it makes it quicker. Okay, when something's new, it takes you a long time, and then because it takes you a long time, you get tired, and because it's tired, it becomes even more difficult. So they're the key things: is how do you manage your bite? How do you take a full arch impression? How do you make full arch temporaries? How do you reline the temporaries? How do you manage the temporaries if the treatment goes on for months and months and months? They're the key aspects to a full arch of treatment, which is quite different to a quadrant or a segment. We're going to obviously do a full arch of preps, maybe 2 if I can get you. It's not a course where you do 2 days doing 1 prep, okay? We like you to do a lot of repetitions because you cannot develop the hand skill without doing something over and over again. We want you to do a full arch of preps and then make a full arch of temporaries and take a full arch of bites, okay? So the moment you cut the last tooth or the last few teeth with a full arch prep, you've lost the bite. So that's the key difference with a full arch. The 2 key differences with a full arch prep is the number of teeth that you have to do in a single visit, and secondly, the fact that you have to maintain or manage the bite, because the moment you cut the last tooth, the bite is gone, it's lost. So the things that are specific to a full arch, we will be doing a full arch of preps, probably twice, a full arch of temporaries, either segmental or all in one piece, probably acrylic temporaries with shell temporaries if possible. Shell temporaries are more difficult to make, and so they're the ones that we will focus on. Bisacryl temporaries are okay for simple cases, but if you do long-standing cases, they're very difficult because they tend to break a lot, particularly if you've got spans with missing teeth. The key difference between a full arch and a segment is the bite, the importance of temporaries, and the amount of prepping that you have to do. So there's 3 parts that make a tooth look good. There's the incisal edge, there's the gingiva, and then there's a bit in between. Now, when we look at a tooth, the first thing we see is the incisal edge. We see the frame of the tooth. So a tooth is like a rectangle with rounded corners, and we see that frame of the tooth first. So we see the incisal edge, and we see the shape of the gingiva. That is why kind of the holy trinity of dentistry is restorative dentistry, periodontal surgery and periodontics, and orthodontics, putting the tooth in the right spot, having the gums in the right spot, and having the tooth in the right spot, and look nice. So that's the 3 things. So it's very difficult to do good restorative dentistry without good soft tissue grafting, without good soft tissue management. The soft tissue and the restorative go together. The soft tissue and the restorative and the orthodontics go together. So the introduction to soft tissue surgery really should be the free gingival graft and the subepithelial connective tissue graft. They are the workhorse of soft tissue surgery, And that is what I focus on with the soft tissue course. We will focus on these two really important things: the subepithelial connective tissue graft and the free gingival graft. We're focused on these two, and we're going to do many exercises on those two grafts, so that when you finish, you will actually feel competent to go and do this on a patient, and you'll have a relatively high chance of doing a good job. Now, soft tissue grafting kind of sounds scary because it's not like anything else. Everything else you do in dentistry is a fixed target. It is a solid target, something that doesn't move, whereas soft tissue graft, its difference is that it's a mobile thing, okay? It's not like doing a filling where you've got a fixed tooth and you can cut it. This, you've got a loose object and you have to fix it into position using sutures, okay? That is the difference between soft tissue surgery and everything else, is that it's so suture dependent. So we will focus a lot on suturing techniques, on harvesting techniques, and then which cases, what you can actually expect to achieve, what's possible, what's realistic. You can't do everything that you want to with soft tissue grafting, and there's certain things that you can't get successful, and you should know before you start, is this going to be successful or not? The great thing about soft tissue grafting is, unlike many other types of surgery, if it goes wrong, it's very rare that you end up worse off than you were to start with. So many types of surgery, if they go wrong, you've actually caused a devastation, whereas soft tissue grafting, if it goes wrong, you often end up no worse than you were to start with. The free gingival graft is the most reliable and easiest of the grafts, and it's the one we use around implants, and it's used for all sorts of things. The subepithelial is the one that looks pretty, the SECTG, subepithelial connective tissue graft. Both of them are relatively straightforward. I've customised and made special models just for teaching this course. Custom models, I'm the only one that uses the models that I have. We will mostly be working on my models, and you will learn the basics of suturing, harvesting, and when and where.